like more like a antalgic gait. So,
Yeah.
what's your suggestion for her?
So I will have to see her scans and ask her a few questions clinically, but I would suggest you don't suggest a surgery. Your surgery is not a solution for all problems. So suppose she has a really unstable spine due to the listhesis, only then surgery is beneficial. And in these obese patients, usually we prefer to do minimally invasive surgeries through keyholes, which are much easier than opening the whole spine and the huge amount of fat and wound healing problems which they have. So for listhesis, we can do simple MIS surgeries, minimally invasive surgeries. But then I will need to know her entire detailed symptoms, her MRI and X-ray images, and if the two match and she has symptoms of instability, only then I would suggest surgery. Otherwise, there are many reasons for low back pain and all don't require surgery. So my mobile number I have mentioned, or you can take it from Prerak.
Yeah.
And if they wish, they can have an online consultation with me wherever they are. And
Okay.
we can sort out the problem. And you can drop me a message. I will let you know what I feel about the entire thing when I'm done with the online consultation. So you guys can keep my mobile number. Any queries, you can drop me a message, or if you have the images, you can send me the images. If you want, you can tell your patient to do online consultation with me, so we can organize those things. But without a clinical and radiological picture, I won't really be able to tell you whether she will require surgery or not.
No, sir, repeatedly patient is asked, ma'am, why these symptoms comes again and again.
Yeah.
I'm doing
So
exercise, I'm doing all the things. Should
exactly.
it need a surgery or not? And
That's what I'm
spine
telling. All
surgeon,
spine patients are of that kind. They all come repeatedly. They never get better. So you have to choose. You have to choose. You all might have
yes,
experienced that spine patients are not easy to treat. So we don't put our hands in as a surgeon unless we can assure them good results. Because like they come to you, once I have done the surgery, they will keep coming to me that you have done the surgery and I'm still not better. So unless I'm able to assure them that this surgery, and if I'm convinced, I can assure them that they will get good results. There are no two things about it. So I have to be convinced that this patient requires surgery. Otherwise, there is no point doing surgery just because they are not getting better. I mean,
okay,
just because she has back pain or leg pain, it doesn't mean that if they don't get better with physiotherapy, they will get better with surgery. It doesn't work
sir.
like that.
Mhm.
There might be a lot of psychological issues, there might be
Huh.
overweight problems, many things to tackle. So
Thank you,
I
sir.
suggest you tell them to have an online consultation. I will have to see everything and then I can give an opinion.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Good evening, sir. My question, hi, this is Nupur. My question is regarding scoliosis. You said that if the Cobb's angle is below 40, it can be managed conservatively, or good with, if you
Below.
have a good, you can be managed conservatively. You can have a good balanced spine, then it can be managed. But if there is a rotational deformity present, then is it wise to continue the conservative, or should we be referring to the surgeon?
See,
Right.
every scoliosis, you define a scoliosis by the rotational deformity. If it's really a scoliosis, it will always have a rotational component, however small it might be. So
Okay.
rotational deformity is always there in scoliosis. And the question is about the Cobb's angle. So
Mhm.
if the angle is till 40 degree, we tend to try and manage with non-surgical methods. Now it doesn't depend on you or me whether the
Mhm.
deformity will progress. It depends on the characteristics of the deformity and the growth imbalance which the patient has. If it's going to progress, it will progress no matter what you do. So all
Okay.
we have to do is to have a close observation and give them bracing and all in the hope that it will not progress. Still, if it progressing and it crosses 40 degree, you can start thinking about surgery. Till that time, even spine surgeons won't advise surgery.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
So, sir, now we have a question that what is the time when we should refer a sciatica patient to the surgeon? What are the red flags that should be kept in mind?
Yeah, so sciatica is usually a disc herniation at the L4-5 or L5-S1 level. If the patient has a pain which is not relieved by all your conservative means, whatever you want to try, if the patient starts developing a deficit like a foot drop, if the patient has some bowel or bladder issues, and you know the triad of cauda equina. It's perineal numbness, perineal region numbness, bilateral feet tingling numbness, and bladder deficit. So these three things, if they are there, if any two of the things are there, and if the MRI shows a big disc herniation, you should always refer. If you know how to read MRIs, if it is showing a big disc, always refer. Let the surgeon opine once. If the surgeon feels they can undergo conservative, only then you carry on. Otherwise, red flag clinically are these: that progressive pain, progressive deficit, symptoms or signs of cauda equina syndrome, you should always refer.
Okay. So next question we have, what is an ideal treatment for coccydynia?
So coccydynia is a bit difficult to treat. If you ask me frankly, there is no definitive treatment across the world for any spine surgeon will just suggest you few things. So as you all know, the first thing is to avoid sitting. So I tell all my patients with coccydynia that 3 months you should not sit. So any way you sit, it's going to cause some kind of irritation of the coccyx, and the inflammation will not settle. Most of them will tell you that it is not possible. They have to sit some of the other time for job or work or rest or whatever. So if they have to sit, they have to use either the ring cushion or the U cushion. As far the shape, size is concerned, they should try it for themselves. Tell them to go to the shop, try different shapes, whatever they are comfortable, they should buy that. Strictly, very strictly use the cushion while sitting. Even I tell my patients, even if you go to see a movie in the theater, you should carry the cushion with you, the ring cushion with you in the cinema hall. You should always use it for sitting. Not even for 5 minutes, you should sit without the cushion. In spite of that, if they don't get relief from pain, then the next step I advise them is to give a steroid block locally. So we insert a small needle at the level of the coccyx where the pain is there, and we inject some steroid and local anesthetic. Still, if the patient does not get relief from pain, there is a technique called manual manipulation. So where we put a finger through the anal region, yeah, under anesthesia, and there is this hooked coccyx which people have. So all we do is we break the tip of the coccyx under anesthesia. This is all under general anesthesia. So we break the tip, and then it's like a non-union of the coccyx, but that irritating part is no longer the weight-bearing part. Still, if they don't get relief, the last thing, which I haven't done in my practice for 10 years, but I have seen one case being done during my training, is the excision of the coccyx, where you have to excise the tip of the coccyx, which is irritating. But I don't think you need to go that far. Most of these patients are managed conservatively.
Thank you, sir. So now next we have a very interesting question. I'm sure all of our physios in our practice have definitely experienced this. There is always, this is a very interesting question by Dr. Madhura Kajare. There is always a residual back pain present after a decompression or a laminectomy surgery. So what is your opinion on this? Why there is always a residual back pain?
So let's take it the other way. So if this patient hadn't undergone a spine surgery, they would still have had back pain.
Okay.
So we operate for back pain only if there are some definite signs and radiological changes suggesting some kind of instability. So instability, It could be due to TB, it could be due to tumor, it could be due to a lytic listhesis. If it is only a degenerative spine without any instability which is causing back pain, we never advise surgery. It should not be advised. They will never get relief from that back pain, because back pain everybody has. Everybody gets back pain. Even I have back pain, you have back pain. Everybody would have experienced back pain. And axial pain has got a huge emotional component as well, a psychological factor, wherein even if the surgeon doesn't behave properly with the patient, they might still have back pain. So it's as common as that. So back pain, there are 1,000 reasons why they might have back pain. Now, if you feel that only post-operatively after a laminectomy, they have a significant back pain. And when I say significant and mechanical, suggesting instability. So what are the back pains which suggest instability? So these are the back pains which the patient will complain of, that whenever I change my position, I get back pain. Once I walk a few steps, I am a bit comfortable. If I continue walking for some time, I again get back pain. So the mechanism here is, whenever they change position, the muscles are not active, and then the spine due to instability will move, and there will be muscle spasm and back pain. Now once the muscles go in spasm, they somehow control the instability. The patient is able to ambulate. After walking some distance, again the muscles fatigue and the instability again occurs, and then again they get back. So it's very typically mechanical back pain. If your patient is having mechanical back pain after surgery, then it's the fault of the surgeon. He might have caused iatrogenic instability. Like if while doing laminectomy you remove too much of bone, you can cause instability. But otherwise, back pain in a post-op patient, in fact, I counsel all my patients that you have come to me and I am operating you for your leg pain. When I do a laminectomy, your back pain will remain. If you feel your back pain is more worrisome, don't do the surgery.
Okay. Okay. Sir, do you have any specific restrictions of spine movement after laminectomy as per your practice and protocol?
Yeah, so that I would be covering in post-op protocols.
Okay.
But usually I don't allow any bending for 3 months. I'll tell you all the protocols which I follow.
No problem, sir. No problem. So now I think we'll take the last question for today. That is by Dr. Shanti. It's a very elaborative question. So I would suggest Dr. Shanti can ask her question herself. Please, Shanti, go ahead. Shanti, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Please ask your question. We can hear you too.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, perfect.
Go ahead,
So,
Shanti.
yeah, actually, she's 11-year-old, sir, and she's been diagnosed with scoliosis and has a Cobb's angle of 43. Now, at 11, she has minor muscle spasms around her upper back and all that. Is it suggested that we go in for the surgery, or will have to wait for her to progress? Like, we'll have to see for the progression curve.
See, at 11 years of age with a Cobb's angle of 43, she is borderline.
Okay.
See, most spine surgeons would advise her surgery. If she is not mentally prepared yet, she can wait. It's not an emergency. At 11 years of age, she might be just at the stage of completing the adolescent growth spurt. Like in females, it is 9 to 11, maybe 9 to 12. So I would suggest at least for a year, she should wait, because we don't prefer to fuse growing spines. Once the growth is done, then it's better to fuse, because then you get the length. Otherwise, they are shortened in their height. And there is a problem of the crankshaft phenomenon, where the spine tends to rotate if you fuse a growing spine. So for her, I would suggest just wait for another year or so. Let her cross her growing phase, and then she can decide if the deformity is progressing. If cosmetically the deformity is bothering her, she can undergo surgery. But the pain in the upper back, which is complaining of, it may not be related to her her deformity. Usually, scoliosis are not don't cause much pain, and plus it all depends on the overall balance. If it's a very well balanced spine, she can afford to wait further.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And Shanti, if you have any doubts, if you want to have, you can have a consultation with Dr. Ashutosh, and maybe you can show the reports to Dr. Ashutosh, and maybe he can comment further, because Abhi, it's just a question, but when you send all the details,
There,
it'll be more
there are
detailed.
many factors, like all depends on the her X-ray image, her clinical picture, how she looks from front,
Yes.
back, her bending views.
Yeah.
There are many
Yeah.
things. How flexible the curve is. So the deformity is not something which you can just tell in one line. It's all ifs and buts. There are many factors.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Sir, one question. I am Bhupen from Bangalore. So there
Yeah.
is a 32 years old guy. So he had a history of a right shoulder dislocation 10 years back and almost happened 20 times, 20, 25 times.
Hmm.
But since 10 years, there is no. So yesterday, he again came to my clinic. He had a stiff shoulder. But the one thing which he is complaining now in the lower back, and he complains that, before the lockdown, he went to some Ayurvedic massage or something. So, that massage therapist told that in the sole, not in the calcaneum region, but in the sole, mid sole, both bilateral, both the sides, he had some discoloration or something. He told to that patient. Now the patient problem is, like he says, whenever he gets up, the pain start from distal to proximal part. It goes from the sole to the shin of the tibia to the hamstrings and goes up to the hip side. So basically, he complains the pain from distal to proximal, not proximal to distal. So
Okay.
like yesterday, even I have referred him to one of my orthopedician also. So where he has also suggested the MRI and these things. So I think today he will come with the reports. But
Yeah,
I
but
just generally
does
want
he
to know
get
what could be
pain?
the reason for that, sir.
So yeah, sorry. What do you say?
Sorry.
What did you ask? Last line?
So last line, like yesterday, I just asked him to
Uh,
consult to one of my orthopedician.
uh,
So like he had also suggested the MRI for the
mm,
LS spine. So
mm.
today he will come with the reports. But I just want to know, sir, what could be the reason? Like why he complains this from the distal to the proximal, not from, it does not radiate from the hip level or lower back to the down, but it starts from the distal to proximal.
Yeah. So spine. So there here the what is the age of the patient?
He is a 32 years old.
Yeah. So young guy. Basically, the differentials here most of the times are either spine or some vascular cause. Especially
Okay.
if there is some discoloration, you should rule out vascular causes.
Okay.
So your orthopedic surgeon and ask for an MRI. That's okay. You can do an MRI and rule out spine as
Yes.
the cause. If the spine looks clear,
Yeah.
or if there is nothing significant to explain so much pain,
Yes.
then you should get a color Doppler done.
Oh.
So rule out any vascular, like if there is swelling of the legs, you should rule out venous problem. If
Okay.
there is no swelling, only discoloration, then do an arterial Doppler and rule out any vascular, like you have all these Burgess disease and all those
Yes.
things.
Okay. Could be the one of the reasons, sir.
Yeah, could be.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Anyways, he'll come today with the report, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll share the number on
take a
group.
picture. Yeah,
You can
I'll
Yeah, yeah,
take a
actually,
picture also and share it to you also, sir.
sure.
yeah, yeah. Just share it to me. I will let you know if it is significant or not.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Sure. So, sir, I think we will end today's session now.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting and lot of new things and lot of new questions as well. So I think that was the last question for today. And I think tomorrow will be the last session. So what are your expectations from a physio and what are your protocols? So let us see how we take it ahead then. So I think we'll
Yeah.
meet each other tomorrow then.
So yes, tomorrow I would advise you to have your questions regarding especially the post-op patients. I've seen most of the physios are totally blank about what to do. They are very scared about how to manage post-op patients. So I don't say that I'm giving you like a protocol or something, but it will depend on surgeon to surgeon. But I will give you a broad outline, basically what is expected, what generally should be done, and when you should ask. Basically, anything you feel is not going right, you should consult your surgeon again. So I'll give you a broad outline of the whole thing, that what we do and what is expected from a physiotherapist, at least from my perspective or our team of spine surgeons. We have 5 or 6 spine surgeons who work together here.
Yeah.
So I will let you know what generally we follow here. So I would like you to have your questions regarding your post-op problems in managing spine patients. See, as far as these queries, or if you want any kind of online consultation, we have an online portal here wherein we have a receptionist who attends the calls. She can, like, suppose you have a patient who wants opinion, I will forward the number of our receptionist who can coordinate and sort of liaise the online consultation thing. So all that will be handled if you really want a teleconsultation. So my number will be shared by Prerak in the with all of you. And if you drop me a WhatsApp message, I will share you my business card in which all the details and the number of our receptionist mentioned. The online link there, where if they click, you directly come to my consulting room, the online consulting room which we have, and then as per our appointment time I consult patients, and we have had fairly successful experience in managing patients online. So that can be done. So
Okay.
Prerak, I would suggest you pass on my number.
Yes, sir. I'll do it right away.
Yeah, and tomorrow we will meet again at 4:30.
4:30, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Please take care.
Yeah.
Sure.
Welcome.